Shalom, shalom. I hope everyone is having a fantastic night as the night is reaching its completion. Getting ready for a new day to come in. Hope everyone is having a perfect night. Anyway, so now I have 14 minutes or so in order before I have to go back driving. So I just want to take that time to actually answer or debunk the way people use that 2/3 narrative. I know you didn't heard the narrative before when you're saying something that someone don't like and they respond back, oh, it's okay, you're part of the 2/3 anyway. Or they respond back, I'm 1/3 and you're 2/3, so you're not going to make it and I'm going to make it. Something like that. So now, I want to go through actual what the 2/3 is and the timeline that they was in real fast. So let's try to get it. Let's try to get something established, and hopefully we can stop misusing such scriptures in order to try to combat when somebody says something that you don't want to hear. So let's try it. All right. So now, let's turn it around. And let's go straight to the horse's mouth. Zechariah 13:8. And it should come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd shall be left therein. Shalom, Mr. Martin. Shalom, shalom. So now, we have the 2/3 speech right there. So, can we take it back a little bit? Okay, I want to take it back a little bit because we have the 2/3, so I want to get a little bit more context. How you doing, Ms. Nakia? So now, I want to get a little more context. Zechariah 12. I want to read Zechariah 12, 1 and 2. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, said the Lord, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, and they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Okay, so now we're having a physical location and a physical people, right? We got Judah and Jerusalem. So, what's being spoken of is dealing with Judah and Jerusalem, okay? The literal place of Jerusalem. And let's see. Verse 4. In that day, I start at 3. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, that all burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all of the people of the earth be gathered together against it. So now, we have a gathering coming against Jerusalem. We see the same thing, the gathering in Revelation, but we're not even going to go there right now. Verse 4, in that day, said the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. So now, we have horses. We have horsemen, we have horses. The horsemen will be the riders, right? So now, this is setting the tone or the time period in which this stuff was going to happen in, okay? You don't see nothing about no metal tanks or metal animals or metal this, metal that, okay? So this was supposed to happen during the time period where people rode around on horses to create war, okay? But now, let's keep going on. Verse 5, and the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. So the governor's going to say, I'm strong, we're strong in Judah. The Most High is not going to let nothing happen to this city or this people. So, let's see if we can screw down. Verse 10, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they should mourn they should mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one is in bitterness for his firstborn. And there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimmon and the valley of Megiddon, which is Armageddon, the valley of Armageddon. So now, first of all, this is a future prophecy because it said they're going to look on the one whom they have pierced. Christ was not pierced back here when Zechariah was making this prophecy. So it was a future prophecy about the Jerusalem being destroyed and them looking on whom they pierced. So we know, if you want to be a futurist, we know this is about the time of the end, right? The battle of Armageddon, right? When they look on Christ whom they have pierced. So this put this around Christ's time, right? And we see that this is all about the people mourning is the house of David, which will be who we call the Jews. And then Zechariah 13, that's when you get verse 8. And it should come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein should be cut off and die, but a third part shall be left therein. So now, the 2/3 and the 1/3, this is happening inside of Jerusalem. Okay? This is happening inside of Jerusalem. And who are the inhabitants inside of Jerusalem at this time? That will be the house of David, aka the Jews. So it will only be the Jews who experience this 2/3, 1/3 situation. First of all, this was going to happen to the land of Jerusalem and the people in the land of Jerusalem. Second of all, so this has nothing to do with America. So you can't talk about where you're going to be part of the 2/3 that get cut off and I'm going to be part of the 1/3 that's left. No. First of all, this happens inside of Jerusalem, the land. Not the people Jerusalem, the land Jerusalem. All right, so now, that's the first thing to understand. So now, let's try to put a little time frame when this, because this is a war. So let's put a time frame when this war is supposed to happen. So, first of all, let's go to Daniel chapter 9, okay? Let's go to Daniel chapter 9 about when this war is supposed to happen. First of all, Daniel 9 and 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. And once you go down to, let's see here, verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and the end of the war desolations are determined. So we have once again the time of the end dealing with the war is the wrapping up of Daniel's 70 weeks. So we know that all of this has to happen during the fourth beast. So we have the 2/3, 1/3 happening around the end of Daniel's 70 weeks. All of these happen within the fourth beast. So now, all you gotta do is go into the fourth beast of the Bible, or the things written under the fourth beast, which is the New Testament. The New Testament was written under the fourth beast. So now we find that same war when 2/3, 1/3 was going to be cut off, the 2/3 was going to be cut off, the 1/3 was going to be left. Let's see, and they're going to look on the person who they have pierced, right? So now, let's find out when this final war, this war of Armageddon, was supposed to take place. Matthew 24 and 2. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, or the end of the age? So now, once again, this is dealing with the 70 weeks, okay? And I don't know if he can get through or not. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Let me get out this gentleman's way. And then I'll come right back. So now, sorry y'all, sorry about that. So now, we know that the 70 weeks was supposed to happen at the time of the end. Now we have the destruction of the temple that was supposed to happen during the time of the end, right? So let's keep going on. What's going to happen at the end of this? Because now the disciples asked for all of the signs that would lead up to the destruction of the temple, right? And in the end of the world or the end of the age. And also Christ's second coming. So once again, they're going to look upon whom they have pierced. How are they going to look upon the ones they have pierced? Or whom they have pierced? It was going to be his second coming. He was coming back in order for them to look upon him. If we're going to take this literal, but there's a breakdown of that. But anyway, so let's get it in more detail. Let's go to Luke 21. Luke 21. Luke 21 and 21. It says, then, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And I got Zechariah 14 right there. Because now, what's going on? Jerusalem is getting compassed with armies. Getting compassed with the Roman army, actually. So why would the Roman army be compassing Jerusalem if they're not getting ready for a war? Okay? So now, hopefully this is taking you toward the time of that Armageddon war, if you actually follow what I'm saying. So now, let's go back to Zechariah 14. We already saw the 2/3 get cut off. Zechariah 14, let's see what's going to happen. The 2/3 is going to get cut off. Remember, the 1/3 is going to remain. Zechariah 14 and 2. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So you have the 2/3 being destroyed, going into captivity, and the 1/3 surviving. So now, this is the same war in Luke 21 when they came in during the abomination of desolations in order to destroy the temple as well as Jerusalem. But let's keep reading. And when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So, we just read Zechariah, the 2/3 in the 1/3 situation that was written in the Tanakh. There was no New Testament right now. So all things written in the Torah and the Tanakh that had not been fulfilled was supposed to be fulfilled during this time. So that great war, that great battle of Armageddon was being fulfilled right now. The 1/3, 2/3 things was being fulfilled right now during the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Not 2019, 2020, but this is a first century course. So you can't misuse the 2/3 and 1/3. But now, let's go even deeper than that. Who are the 1/3? Well, the 1/3 will be Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. So the people, the 1/3 that survive, are the ones who listened to Christ and fled into the mountains. So guess who listened to Christ and fled into the mountains? Nobody except the Christians. Guess who did not listen to Christ and flee into the mountain? These were the Torah only. I'm only under Moses. The Messiah has not came. The Messiah is not here. Elijah has not came. None of those prophecies has been fulfilled. Those are those 2/3 that got cut off. Them will be the 2/3. The 1/3 will be the Christians. But not only did they flee into the mountains, what else did they do? Let's keep going on. Let's go back to Daniel. Let's go to Daniel. Since all of this has to happen during the 4th beast, let's go back to Daniel real fast and see what else. Who else was these people that fled into the mountains? These Christians. Who else was these? What was the Christians considered? Let's go to Daniel 12. Daniel 12, and let's just read 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble. This is the tribulation dealing with the war, such in 1st century, 70 AD, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. So the people found written in the book were the ones to be delivered. The people found written in the book who was delivered during 70 AD that fled into the mountains, that fled into those islands and went to the mountains. These were the Christians, not the Torah only people. These were the Christians. So who was written in the book of life? The Christians was written in the book of life. How did the Christians survive? They fled into the mountains. Once again, the Christians fled into the mountains, allowing them to enter into the book of life, so they survived there and they was able to take the glory of Christ, which was Christ's prophecy coming to truth, coming to fruition, that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. But guess what? Before I go, let's hit that, and they're going to look on me whom they have pierced. Let's hit that. Let's go back to Matthew 24, which is about the same thing Luke 21 is about, the destruction of the temple. But let's just see what happens. You have the Great Tribulation, you have the abomination of desolation, and them fleeing into the mountains. Luke 21 said the abomination of desolation was that army that created that started desolation, which was the Roman army. So the Roman army will be considered the abomination of desolation. These are the people that's going inside of the city and finishing up, ravishing the houses, taking Jerusalem, Judah inside of Jerusalem captive. This will be the Roman army. So now let's see what else is going on. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, nor shall there ever will be. And except those days be shortened, those days back then, around 1st century, when Jerusalem was being destroyed, except those days be shortened, because we just read in Zechariah, they're going to take the city, they're going to ravish the women, they killed the kids, so except those days were shortened, nothing in today's time, but except those days were shortened for the elect's sake, the Christian's sake. Everybody would have been cut off. Only the Christians survived. But now, let's keep reading. That will be the time of tribulation that the Bible speaks of. The same time of tribulation we just read in Daniel 12 and 1. There's going to be a time like none other, and everyone written in the book is going to escape. That was the same tribulation. But let me finish it up. 29, Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened. So let me see. The moon shall not give off her light. The stars shall fall from heaven, and the power of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So they see the Son of Man coming in power and great glory. He will be the one, when they're looking upon whom they have pierced, it will be him. That's him right now coming in power and great glory. And you take that right back to Revelation 1, and 7, behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. So we just saw all of the kindreds of the earth mourning right there. Why are they mourning? Because they're looking on whom they have pierced. When are they looking on whom they have pierced? According to Zechariah, is when Jerusalem is being destroyed. When is Jerusalem being destroyed? During the 4th beast. What else is happening? The 70 weeks are finishing up. What else is happening? The 1/3 is living, the 2/3 has been cut off. What else is happening? You go to Revelation 6 and 1. 6 and I think it's around. It's the 6th seal, right here, 12. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the moon as blood, and the stars fell from heaven, even as a fig casts her untimely figs. We just saw that happening during the destruction of the temple, according to Matthew 24, which is also what Zechariah 14, 13, 12 is about, which is also what Daniel 9 is about. And then you take it to Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. This is when the kingdom of heaven is coming upon earth to do, the Most High is coming upon the earth to tabernacle with mankind, him and the land, and they're getting the everlasting kingdom. The saints are, who will be everybody who followed Christ's words, aka the Christians. No Torah only people here. Zechariah 14 has nothing to do with Torah only. These are Christian people, and that will be the end of the Bible. Hopefully everyone was listening and caught on to that. But the Zechariah 2/3, 1/3 happened around 70 AD. It's not a future event. Quit telling people it is. Quit trying to condemn people because they don't believe that nonsense that people are trying to spew out and calling it the word of God. So y'all can come study with us, come learn with us, come listen to us, or you can continue doing what you're doing. That's on you. I'm just telling you, y'all misusing the 2/3, 1/3. Y'all misusing the tribulation period. Y'all misusing the coming of Christ. Y'all misusing the 144,000. Y'all were misusing pretty much all of it. Everybody who survived was Christians, Christian period. And according to Paul, the only people that was the descendants of Abraham and heir to the promise were those who followed Christ. And according to the Bible, they were called Christians. So the only people that have promises of the kingdom, the only heirs of promise of everything, will be Christians. The only people that survived was Christians. The 144,000 were Christians. So, welcome to Christianity. Old school Christianity, not pagan Christianity today. But, alright, deuces, love y'all. You can comment, like, add, we can debate, whatever you want to do, or you can come study with us. Hit me up, send me a message. Shalom.